Hi, it's Betsy at iStampC, and today we're going to create specimen slides with a gift box. Way back in 2008, I created this template box, and if you've been stamping and scrapbooking and doing mixed media art for many years, as I have, I'm not sure if you recall, but cardboard coasters were the craze back then. And when I had Innovative Stamp Creations, an online rubber stamping store, I sold a ton of these. And most recently, I've been doing some major decluttering, and I came across a ton of boxes of samples and racks, which means random acts of kindness, and swaps, samples that I made many, many years ago. So I thought it would be so cool to recreate this cute gift box, but instead of using coasters, we're going to use specimen slides, and I'll show you a bit more in just a sec. But let me share with you what I did is, let me bring this up a little bit closer. Hello, focus. But here, these are all stamps that I used. This is a scallop punch. This is also a stamp. These are all stamps that I sold when I had my online store. And also I decorated the outside of the box with various stamps from way back in 2008. But you can attach a magnet, all sorts of different embellishments if you want to then string it, and I'll share more in just a bit. But these were really cute, and I did add small magnets, and I think these are from Basil, if I'm not mistaken, with some ribbon, and it was so sweet. I made a ton of these and just kept this one, and I'll show you a bit more in just a sec. So in terms of supplies, you will need the following. Now, I did 3 different versions of this box and slides, from mixed media to super simple. At least I think it's super simple. But if you're new, I'm trying to be mindful. If you're new to rubber stamping, mixed media, journaling, I'm trying to be a little bit more mindful and show a couple of different techniques and options if you don't have a lot of the tools, mediums, and embellishments that you need. Okay, so let's start off with, you're going to need some embossing powders. And again, I have a fall theme going on here, so I'm choosing 3 different colors: moss, clay, and again, I don't even know if they sell these anymore, but as I said, I've been rubber stamping, scrapbooking, mixed media for over 18, almost 20 years, and I had a very successful online rubber stamp store for 10 years, and I have a little bit of everything. You'll need mini brads, and I don't know if Oriental Trading is still around, but these are wicked tiny. So I've had this for years. You'll need a corner puncher. My favorite glue as of late is between 3-in-1 or the glitter, art glitter glue. But for this project, I've been using pretty much this one. You'll need rubber stamps. This is found jewelry. I have no idea. I think I probably got this at a local dollar store many, many years ago. You'll need ribbon. You'll need, again, I like to do things in color themes. So think about what you have in mind. What stamps do you want to use? What season are we in? This is how my creative mind thinks. You'll need cardstock of choice. I'll leave that up to you, but I would probably go between 65 weight or higher. I would also encourage you to grab some watercolor paper, and you'll probably want the thickest, which is, hold on here, I think it's 140 pound. Okay. And again, embellishments. I don't know if you remember this company, Cloud9, but they had the coolest embellishments. I mean, really cool embellishments. And I did sell these years ago. I think if you do a quick search on, I use a couple of different search engines, Google and also BraveNet. And I think these are still available on eBay. And I'll share more as to how these can be used. You'll need a crocodile. Again, if you don't have one, you can. This is the best tool, I would say, to invest if you're going to start. Visit a Hobby Lobby or Michael's or something like that. And of course, you'll need a paper trimmer. And in terms of cardstock, I want to just say a few things. I did use watercolor cardstock, which is 140 weight, and I think 110 weight on a couple of the boxes that I'll show you in just a second. What I want to do, before I forget, if you want to add embellishments to the side or something like that, you will need a punch. Tag punch, and this is an oldie from Stampin' Up that I bought from Lisa. She was a consultant, and then she also designed cards and samples for me way back. I don't know if she's still online, but she was so incredibly talented, and I'll share something that I learned from her. But before I clear everything off, I want to give you a sneak peek to one of the boxes that I made. This one does have a magnet, and then it also has ribbon and a little bit of embellishment. I always love to add that touch. These are all innovative stamp creation images, from the butterfly to the sunflower to treasured friend. And the background, those specks, are also a rubber stamp image. And this is something that I copied from Lisa way back. She would always, on certain cards, she would tie a little ribbon, and then she would affix a little tag with the saying or something to that extent. So we'll share more in just a bit. So what I want to do is ask you to grab your cutting board or scoring board, scissors, of course, you'll need, and I will be right back. Okay, take two. Oh my goodness. This process of videotaping is not easy, but I'm learning. I'm trying to get better at this. Okay, so you want to grab your cutting board, scoring board, your tool, your 8.5 by 11 cardstock of choice. If you use a 12 by 12 piece of cardstock, you can make 2 of these gift boxes. Just a quick little tip. So let's start. You're going to score 1/2 inch, 4 1/8, 4 5/8, 8 1/4, 8 3/4. And we'll do this again. On the 11-inch side, you're going to score 1/2 inch, 4 1/8, 4 5/8, 8 1/4, 8 3/4. Okay? Then you're going to turn your paper on the 8 1/2 side, 8 1/2 side, and you're going to score 1/2 inch, 4 1/8, 4 5/8, and then you're going to score 5 1/2. Okay, let's do this again. 1/2 inch, 4 1/8, 4 5/8, then 5 1/2. Okay. Now I've already cut a couple of these just to give you a sense of where you'll need to cut. Okay. And that way you can take a screenshot if you'd like of where I cut. I mean, it's totally up to you. You can cut it however you want, but this is the template that I made way back. And what I'll do now is I'll cut it out so that you can see. And just for the purposes of the video, what I'll do is I'll trace it so that it's easier for you to cut out yours. Just like so. Okay, there you go. I will cut this out so that you can see. Back then, there weren't a lot of die cuts available like there is now, and I think there's even an online site where you can put in a bunch of measurements and it will create a template for you. It's pretty cool for boxes or whatever your heart desires. So then you want to take your corner rounder and you want to round the front flap. And I believe I used the biggest one. Yes, I did. I used the biggest one. And then the bottom, this bottom here, I did this. That there. And on the side, I did this. Okay, so this is, here's your box, your gift box creation. Now, a couple of things to keep in mind. Depending on the mediums that you decide you want to use and the theme, the cardstock, the different embellishments, what I did, and I'll start with this one first, is I took, open this quickly, is I stamped on the box first. Okay, let me just undo this here. So I stamped on the box first. As you can see here, I stamped. And then after I stamped, and I did this while the box was completely open, and you need a cushion, like a stamp cushion underneath, so that depending on the image, the stamp that you use, you'll get a really good impression. Then I like to work with fine, clear embossing powder, and I've had this container, you see it's lost the color. I've had this for 20 years. It's that old. And then once I added the stamped image, I use clear Versamark ink pad. I then chose the color, not the color, the cardstock, and I've shared in a couple of previous videos that I like to grab, whether it's hymn books or hymnal books, whatever I have around, and I like to distress it or stain it with instant coffee grains, or those little containers, not containers, but you can buy those little instant packs at the dollar store, and I use water and rubbing alcohol. And I made this about a year ago, and I'm almost done. So I distress the paper. I then lay it, and I think about where do I want and how do I want to lay the paper. So I want it in the front. I want some of it on the back. And I did them. That's what I did. And then what I did was, while it's still open, like so, I will then stamp the image with, I use my favorite ink. It's the archival, the black jet, I think, archival ink pad from Ranger. And then again, I add embossing powder, and then I use different spritz and different sprays to color in the sunflower. And I did use, what do you call those markers? I use these Uni Posca white fine tip marker. I use this to add a little bit of accent on the sunflower. And once I did that, I then glued the box together. But keep in mind, if you want to add a magnet, you need to add the magnet to the inside before you glue your box, okay? So that's just the thought. And then if you're going to add the ribbon, you want to use a little bit of fabric glue on the back so that you can then tie it to the front. And of course, you can keep this as basic, and I'll show you another one that's super, super easy. At least I think that it is. This one here, I then added a treasured friend, a butterfly with a little little bead, orange bead. And then I've shared before that I learned to use this funky dot matrix paper, the edges from Eva at Bohemian Crafting. And sweet friends, if you don't follow her, you really should. She is incredibly talented, and I believe she is from the UK. So I distress these with different inks or sprays, and then I tear them up. Then I distress the edges, and I'll add a little brad just to give it a little bit of contrast and some touch. And I don't know, but I just love altering small spaces. The smaller the surface, the more my creative mind just takes off. And then I will make a video soon on how I make these beads, but it's super, super easy to make. And the pin is from Making Memories. If you remember, they were around eons ago. So that's that one. I'm going to clear this off. And, oh, before I clear things off, what we're going to do is the actual slide next for one of the gift boxes. And this is the Stampin' Up! Tag. This is one of my images. There's always, always, always something to be thankful for. And then I use the same stamp that is on the box. I used it on the specimen slide. And I did make a template of 4 of these slides for you to use if you don't have a die cut. The size of this template, I believe it's almost 3 and 3, I think 3, a little under 3.5. And I'm going to try to upload it. Wish me luck, because I'm not that technically inclined, but I am learning. And then this here is the Scotch clear tape that you can alter and give it a vintage look with alcohol inks. And then, of course, an eyelet with, I always forget the name of this little thing. Forgive me, but it happens. And then I added an eyelet. I think these are great gifts to give friends, teachers. And as I said, this is the season for craft fairs. You can make a ton of these with all sorts of different themes. You can put a magnet in the back of this. This can be, you can hang this in a crafty studio or wherever the person desires. But I think these are wicked cute and super easy to make, as I've said. So I'm going to clear this stuff, and then I will be back to share with you how I put together the slide, and I'll show you the box if I can find my mouse. One more thing, I forgot to share how to crease after you've added all your embellishments in terms of the cardstock. If you use a watercolor paper, this is how you'll want to fold, okay? These are the areas that you will want to fold. And typically what I like to do is where I've done these notches, that will go on the inside. So I hope that helps you distinguish. So this is how I would close my box, like so. Okay, like this. I hope that makes sense. Okay, and I'll be back. Okay, so this is the box that we're going to finish making the specimen slide for. Now, this paper is from way back when Tim actually sold that sand it, scratch it, emboss it paper way back in late 2000. And I still have a bunch of sheets that are 12 by 12 in size. So I did use a sander on the edges a little bit and also on the back. And I did the same thing. I used, I had the gift box laid out like so, and then I added the papers that I wanted, and then before I added this bottom paper, I did emboss it, and that's what we're going to do on the slide. Okay, and here are the those button snaps that I shared with you earlier, that you can still, I believe you can still find these online. if you search them, and I'll list them down below. But basically, I added the paper, then did a little bit of stamping. This is the last piece of paper that I did not glue on, and I kind of left it open. I only glued the edges in case later on I want to add a little something, as I plan to possibly either sell these or gift them to a friend. And again, it's found jewelry that I grabbed years ago at a local dollar store when things were $1, and then I added paper in the back. This cardstock is ancient. I think it's from, oh my gosh, Rusty Pickle. That's how old the cardstock is. And this lined kind of checkered or screen paper is from Eva, Bohemian Crafting. She was selling these paper pads on her Etsy site. And this is just some beads and some embroidery floss that I got at Walmart. So what we're going to do now is stamp on a piece of cardstock. This is 2.5 by 2.5, which fits perfectly in the specimen slides that I created. And I went ahead and let me put this here. I stamped on the slide and then I added embossing powder, and I distressed the edges with scorched timber, and I went ahead and cut the cardstock that I want to use on the edges just to keep the video at a decent time, that I won't go too long. And then some embellishments. This is a oh, what is this? This is a rub-on. Okay, so what we will do is I'm going to stamp with Versamark, and that's to me this is the best ink pad to use when you're embossing, and I've had this for eons. And what I do is I buy the re-inker, and that's how I keep the pad fresh. I'll show you how old this pad is. So I'm going to grab the stamp, okay, keeping the theme that's on the outside of the gift box. I'll put this here, and I'm just going to go to the side here where I have a stamp pad. It's kind of foamy. I don't even know if they sell them anymore, but I've had it for a very, very long time. So I'm going to stamp this image on the side here. Hopefully I gave it a really good impression. And then I'm going to grab the 3 powders that I shared with you earlier, and I will sprinkle so that it starts, if you can see that. Okay. And then, and this for me is a lifesaver, because otherwise I would make a mess everywhere. And it just catches your embossing powder. So I want to use, that was embossing powder copper from Ranger. And this is moss. so. Okay. And then I'm going to put this back. This way too, it allows you to put the colors back where they belong. Otherwise, I would have a concoction of colors if I didn't have this tray. And then the last one I'm going to use is Adirondack clay. The other thing too that I forget to do, but it's called, and I'll put this in the description box below. This it has some kind of a powder inside, and you want to swipe it first. You want to swipe your cardstock before you ink your cardstock, and it minimizes your embossing powder from doing that. But you can grab a dry paintbrush and just do this, but still you'll see that I won't be able to remove all of the embossing powder, but that's just a little tip that I wanted to share. I'm going to put this back, and I will emboss the cardstock that I stamped and added embossing powder, and I will be back. Okay, so here is the embossed image with the 3 different embossing powders, and this is the look that I'm trying to achieve. Now, what I want to do is, because sometimes I know it takes time to figure out what I want and where I want to put things. So what I did is, to show you how I think and the process, is I cut, or I just tear the paper, then I distress it, okay? And this is the layout that I have in mind. I want to move this away from that glare. And what I'll do here is, this is what I hope to achieve, like so. And then I will string, before I glue the leaf image, I will string this, and I'll show you that in just a second, but I want to give you a sense of what I have in mind. Okay, so I'll put this aside, and I will grab, this is a Martha Stewart ribbon from eons ago. I worked at Michael's when my son was really young as an event coordinator, and I taught classes for birthday parties and all the other classes that Michael's craft store taught back then. And Martha Stewart had a huge end cap and rows and rows of stuff. I know that she has some things now, but not a lot. But anyways, I've had that ribbon for a really long time. So this is how you add the ribbon to the side. You can do this on many different, if you're working on a journal, if you're doing a card, if you're doing a tag, any kind of frame, object or piece or whatever you have in mind, this is how you would do it. Okay. And then you would tie your bow like so. And depending on how long you want it to be, that's, your choice. But I want mine to be semi-small, not too large. I don't want it to be the focal point of the specimen slide. So that's what it looks like. Okay. So what I'll do now is glue everything, and then I will be back. Okay, so here is the finished, almost finished specimen slide. So I added the paper, the embellishment. I did a little bit of stamping on the bottom and the top. I added the rub-on, and then because I used this flower with the brad, I did use a thicker cardstock for the back. Now you can round the edges if you want. I did so on the sunflower one, and I'll show you this other one as well. And what I want to do now is add the little tag, slip it right through the bow, and lock it. And here is the finished slide, the specimen slide. Okay. I mean, you can add all sorts of things to the back. If you wanted to add some pieces of coffee stain paper for the person to journal, I mean, the possibilities are truly, truly endless. And then this cute thing will go in the box like so. And you will, like I said, I kept the, for some reason, I think, where's the other part to it? Oh, it's in here. Here we go. It's a little tricky. I might keep this one because it's a little tricky to close it, but I think you get the idea. Okay. I could remove this if I wanted to, because these snap on and I could put something else on there. But it does close. It's just a little finicky right now, of course, because I'm filming. But I also wanted to say that I don't know if I will add the eyelet to this one, but you can if you'd like, and I'll share with you the third one that I made. And to me, this one is a little bit more simple, because I just added, everything is stamped, and added this butterfly, which I did sew the butterfly onto this circle label, and then I glued it to the top of the box, and then I just stamped "You're amazing" on a piece of cardstock, and on the back I made a little pocket, and I used that matrix board, the edges of the paper, added an eyelet, and I made a little pocket, and then I used, I just cut a little bit, cut two tags out of this stamped image. It's a rubber stamp. And I used pumice stone to stamp that tag on yellow cardstock so that it's not so bright, and then I distressed the edges with scorched timber. And again, this I used a Velcro. So what I did is use a little bit of fabric glue and put some of that on the front, and then I did the same. I used the same template. I stamped a little bit on the outside, used some of that hymnal paper, added a little bit of washi tape to the corner. I tied a piece of thread on the side with the tag and the stamp. I did on this one use an eyelet with a ball chain. And then this company, I don't know if they're still around, but I sold a really ancient, I think it's ancient because I don't think they sell it anymore. I don't even know if the company is still around, but I know that you can get them now as a brad, if I'm not mistaken, but this funky tool will make those edges for, if you could see that V right there. I'm trying to, yeah, that V shape right there. You put the corner brad on the inside, and then you crimp it, and then it makes that edge. So I put that on the four corners, and I did the same technique. I used clear embossing powder, and then I used a couple of distress sprays, and this one will go in here. I think these are so cool, so easy to make. Any questions, please let me know below. I hope this inspires you to create your own. Please like and subscribe. I do have some fun projects in mind to share with you all. And thank you so much for stopping by. Until next time, be blessed.